Hello and welcome to Mr. Burns' Workshop. Hello and welcome to this edition of Mr. Burns' Workshop. Today we're at this lovely ranch located in the heart of Holbrook. Let's go meet the homeowner.
Hi, Mr. Byrne. How are you today?
How you doing, Alicia? There's a beautiful place you have. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
We bought it in 1975. We're original owners.
Oh, wow. What brings us here today?
I have some plaques from Don Design in Seattle, Washington, and I'd like you to hang them up for us.
Now I have a quick question for you. Do you know the most common phrase when it comes to homeowners and renovations around the house?
Yes, when I get around to it.
Well, today's your lucky day because I got around to it right here for you.
Oh.
This is variety pack. It has ring hooks, sawtooth hooks, as well as keyhole hooks, all in one package. So this gives me 3 varieties of ways to hang the art up. Now when we talk about attaching to the wall, the most common thing now to use is command hooks, especially if you're renting, you don't want to damage the walls. So I recommend these command hooks. You can, if your project happens to be over 2 pounds, I would highly suggest getting a pack of sheetrock anchors. This way you can secure into the sheetrock if you cannot locate a stud. Now I'm going to show you how to lay out the hooks onto the back of your piece of art. First, I want to have them uniform. Since our art is a solid piece of wood, I could really put my brackets anywhere on the back. But I'm going to put them 1 inch down and 1 inch in. This way, later on when we go to lay out the markings on the wall, it'll be a lot easier since it's a uniform number to add. So I'm going to take my tri-square and now I'm going to measure 1 inch over. I'm going to put a little line and I'm going to score that line. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure 1 inch down. And now I'm going to have a crosshair with an extended line. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side. And I'm going to do this for both sets pieces of art. I'm going to have this crosshair pattern just so now this is going to tell me exactly where I want to put the end of my bracket. So now that we have these marked out, we're going to go outside and actually attach the bracket. Doing it? So in order to do that, we had to take this measurement real quick. This happens to be 46.5 inches. So we know the area we're working with is 46.5 inches and each piece of artwork is 11.25 inches in length. So now we know 46.5 inches and we have 22.5 inches worth of art going onto this wall. We're only going to have a certain amount of space on either end. Now I'm going to show you how to lay this out on paper. We're just going to draw 2 lines that represent the inside of our brackets. So we're just going to draw 2 lines right here. We also know that it is 46.5 inches left to right. So we know this is 46.5. The center of this would be at 23.25. We know our art is going to be evenly distributed across our wall here. Each piece of art, I remeasured it. I stated before that it was 11.25. It is actually 11.5. So now we have 11.5 inches right here. So we have, for a total of art, is going to be 22.5 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 22.5, minus it from the 46.5, and that's going to give us the amount of space we have left over on our wall. So we're just going to do quick little math right here, and we're going to do 46.5. We're going to minus out the 22.5, and that gives us 24.3. So we pretty much got 24.25 inches. So 24.25. We're going to now divide that by 3, since we have 3 spaces right here. So now we're going to divide that by 3, and we get 8.1 inches. So what it is saying is each space right here is 8 inches in length. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure from this bracket over 8 inches, and that is going to be where the edge of our artwork is. That is not where we're going to put our mounting hole. Our mounting hole, if you remember, we measured in 1 inch and 1 inch down. So our mounting hole is actually down here. So if you were to mark that spot, you're going to be in the wrong location. So now we're going to go over to our artwork. We're going to measure out where from this edge, where the center of that bracket is, and we're going to add that to the 8 inches. Once we add that to the 8 inches, that is where we're going to place our first mark onto the wall. We also have to take into consideration the height from the top of the art to the bottom of the shelf. The customer says they want 3 inches right there between the top and the bottom of the shelf. Again, our bracket is not at the top of our frame. It is 1 inch down plus the thickness of the bracket, roughly 1/4 inch. So really, that bracket is roughly going to be at 4.25 inches. So our first marking on the wall, we're going to do 8 plus the distance over, and then 4.25 down, and that is going to be where we put our. Then we're going to measure from the center of one bracket to the center of the next bracket, and we're going to measure that distance, mark that location on the wall as well, and then we'll attach our 2 mounting points and get our first picture hung up, and then we will move on to the second one. So we're going to take a quick measurement, and the center of our sawtooth bracket happens to be 1.75 inches from this edge. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure from here 9.75 inches to locate the center of this mounting point. And both of them are identical, so each side is going to be 1.75 inches. So now we're going to measure over 9.75 inches. I'm using a pencil here because I want to put a very slight mark on the wall. If I go back to our picture, we know from the top of the frame to the sawtooth is going to be 1.25 inches. So the customer said they wanted a 3 inch, and I'm going to place that mark on the wall. So right here I have this little crosshair. That is exactly where I'm going to place my first command hook. From this first, I know my artwork, the mounting brackets are going to be 7.75 inches apart. So I'm going to go right to the middle. I'm going to line up my tape measure to the right middle here, and I'm going to go over 7.75 inches. Again, put a little mark. I'm going to measure down to the 4.25 mark, and that's where I'm going to put my X. So now I have mounting bracket 1, mounting bracket 2. Then I'm going to have my 8-inch gap here. And then now from this point, I'm going to locate the mounting brackets for pitch number 2. And then we'll take measurements, and we're going to go from this point, and now we'll have 2 more marks right here. Now that we have marks on the wall, I have to find out, is there a stud behind there? There's a couple different ways you can do this. The old school way is you kind of knock on the wall and you listen for a change in the thud. You can go buy yourself one of these stud finders, you turn it on, and all you do is you place it against the wall, let it set, and now you're going to slide along the wall, and eventually it should beep just like this. So now it's beeping at the edge of the stud. It's not locating the center of the stud. So if I wanted, I could put a little pencil mark right there, continue over 1.5 inches, it's still seeing that stud. So I know my stud is 1.5 inches wide right here. If you don't have a stud finder and you don't know if, you can't see spackle, you can always locate an outlet or a switch on the wall. There is going to be a stud to the left or the right of every outlet and junction box. For this piece of art, I couldn't locate a stud in either location, so I'm going to use the command hooks. So here I am installing the command hook. I have this one already located, and now I'm just going to place the center of the hook onto the center of my marking location. I'm going to give it a little push back and forth, make sure it's set. Just for good measure, I'm going to take out my tape measure. I'm going to measure from center to center, make sure that I am at 7 3/4. Now, if you notice, I am not measuring center to center. I'm actually measuring from the outside edge to the inside edge. And this way, I am actually measuring center to center, but I have 2 straight edges that I can easily read. Instead of trying to estimate where the middle of this command hook is, I just hook onto the outside edge of the one, and then I go to the inside edge of the second one, and it is 7 3/4. All right, so this was method number 1 of how to locate your command hooks, using your tape measure, measuring down, measuring over, and then going from your first hook to your second hook. I'm going to now show you another method using your level and some painter's tape. We'll mark out where we want our edge of our picture onto the tape, and then we're going to lay this onto the back of our art, and we're actually going to mark the locations of those hooks so we can easily transfer those over to the wall, and there's no guessing, is this the correct location? For this process, I want to make sure that I orientate my project the correct way. I know this side is the side that I'm referencing to the edge of the shelf. If I were to do this backwards, it might not work out correctly. So make sure you have the correct orientation. I'm going to make sure that the edge of my level here is 8 inches to the inside edge here. Once I have that, now I can come over here. I can see the center of my mounting bracket. I'm going to put a pencil mark right on this one, and then I'm going to put a pencil mark on here. So now if you could zoom in close, you can see I have 2 pencil marks. Those are the locations of the center of my hooks. Now we can go back into the room and measure from the top of the level down our 4 1/4 inches, and then I will transfer these 2 marks right onto the wall. We have the marks on our level. Now I'm going to come over to the wall, and I know I want to be 4 1/4 inches down. So what I'm going to do is take my tape measure. I'm going to go 4 1/4. I'm going to put a small little pencil line right there. I'm going to take my level. I'm going to make sure I have the correct side of the level to my bracket. If I flip this level 180 degrees, I'm going to have the wrong dimension coming off of this bracket. So make sure you have it in the correct orientation. You're going to locate your 4 1/4 inches, line up the level against your bracket so you know that this distance is correct. Check the bubble to make sure the bubble is in the center of the fluid. If the bubble is high on one side, that means that side has to come down a little bit. So now I have it at 4 1/4. I have my correct spacing. I'm going to now transfer those marks right from the to the wall. I'm going to make sure that the level doesn't shift while I'm doing that. And now I'm going to have two little pencil marks on the wall. And this is going to tell me exactly where I want my picture to be. The homeowner asked us, instead of using these command hooks, if we could use 3D 1¼ inch nails instead. So we were going to remove these command hooks and install a nail on that mark instead. So to remove these command hooks, all you gotta do is grab this little tab right here, pull down, and it pulls the adhesive right off, and they become little rocket ships and they shoot all over. If you have a cat, I'm sure the cat will love to chase these around, so you can make this into a game, and you just shoot them off. So since the homeowner asked us for nails, we're gonna put two nails in. There's a couple reasons I wanna use an 1¼ inch nail. A stud is 3½ inches. Then you have a piece of 1/2 inch sheetrock. So for a total of 4 inches from edge to the edge of the stud. When your electricians and plumbers install their hardware, they install into the center of the stud. They will drill a 1-inch hole. So that means in the center of the stud is 1 3/4 inch, comes over a 1/2 inch. So you have about 1¼ inch worth of stud plus a 1/2 inch of sheetrock before you will damage a wire or a piece of copper pipe. But if you are driving one of these nails in and you feel a hard spot, you feel the nail gets stuck and it hits something, do not drive it through. Just because those are the recommended places where they put pipes and wires, you never know, that pipe could be closer and you don't want to have another project on your hands of now trying to fix a pipe. So now we're just going to take these nails, we're going to locate the hole, the mark on the wall, and we're going to tap it into place. And you can see how easy that nail went in. I could even take it and pull it out my fingers. I am not driven into a stud, and I'm not using sheetrock anchors because these are not heavy enough. If these were a lot heavier or a graduation photo of something, I would maybe put a sheetrock anchor in. But for this project, two simple nails will do the job. So now I'm just going to put that nail in, get the piece of art, and we're going to hang it onto the wall. We're going to double check that we're level. We're going to make any minor adjustments that we deem are necessary. And now we have our art hanging on the wall. Now let's see whether our measurements right. So if we go from here, edge 8 inches. We'll go over to our second piece of art, edge 8 inches. Go into the middle here, 8 inches. So we have 8-inch gap in all 3 locations. Our 2 pictures are now hung level and evenly spaced on our wall. We're going to grab the homeowner and show her the work. Here we are. We're going to show the homeowner the finished job. What do you think, Alicia?
Great job, Mr. Byrne.
Well, if you have any other handyman's needs that you need done around the house, you just give us a call and we'll take care of it for you.
All right, thank you.